And we're back with another episode of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale. I'm Don Henniger, and joining me always, as always, is my podcast partner and Scottsdale's prime promoter, Kevin Maxwell.
I love Scottsdale.
I know
talking
you
about
do.
Scottsdale.
That's why every week we talk about Scottsdale.
We love it. It's my favorite
We
part of
can't
the
get
week.
enough of this place.
I know it.
You know, it just keeps coming on.
It keeps shining. That's why.
Yeah, it's kind of like a new toy. And
Yep.
only it's an old toy, too. However, speaking of old and new toys, our guest this week is a familiar face in a new role, Rachel Smetana, who is now the director of Scottsdale's Tourism and Events Department. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you.
Great to have you back. We've had her before because Rachel's been all over the city.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in your new role since August, taking over for Karen Churchard, who has retired. Rachel has been around City Hall, having worked for the city for over 24 years. Before her latest gig, she was Human Services Manager at the Paiute Neighborhood Center. She also spent 10 years as Mayor Lane's Chief of Staff. She's had a bunch of other roles with the city, too, from the library to planning to economic development. It's really easy to see why you got selected for this new role.
Thank you.
Who could be more qualified than Rachel?
I'm
Right.
the luckiest gal in the world.
Around the block a couple of different times. But I love this quote that I read somewhere after you got your new job. You said, I'll be part of an important ecosystem charged with the care, health, and oversight of many facets of what makes and keeps Scottsdale a world-class destination. You also mentioned that it's a $3 billion industry.
We just got the numbers for 2023, and it's $3.5 billion in 2020. Those were 22 numbers I was quoting in that.
$3.5 bill. No pressure. So how are you going to do
So
all
you
of
went
that?
up in revenue on a non-Super Bowl year? Because the year before that was Super Bowl, probably, wasn't it?
Right. Yes, that's right. Absolutely.
Wow.
And it is really interesting, but I think the business traveler is starting to come back, and we had some other economic impacts. I think that the actual number of travelers was pretty static, but the room rates were up a bit.
Yeah, and I'm probably thinking of the football season 2022. The actual game was in 2023. So if okay, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that was January 23.
So what have you learned in the last couple of months about tourism that you didn't already know after working for the city for all these years?
Interesting. That is a great question. I think what I've been diving into most is, so as you both, I'm sure know, in 2010, the residents voted on Prop 200, which increased the bed tax so that we could better support tourism through our destination marketing organization, and also through city support, and have money to continue to invest in tourism, new attractions, and event support and things like that.
Right.
So I've been spending the last 2 months becoming as much of a budget expert as I can in 7.5 weeks, and also really diving into the contracts we have. We have some really important contractual relationships in my department with Experience Scottsdale, of course, but also Scottsdale Arts Museum of the West. We've got leases with the Scottsdale Artist School, with Stagebrush Theater. And then on top of it, we are rolling into event season pretty fast. So the group that's under me is also tasked with reviewing and permitting all those events with the help of public safety, of course. So those are all events that are produced outside the city. You know, we want to make sure those are safe and well organized, and don't try to mitigate as much impact on the surrounding community as we can. But we also produce in-house events like the month-long Scottsdazzle, Western Week. We help with the Pony Express, Parada del Sol. We'll be going into Jean Days. So in the last 2 months, it has been a pretty steep learning curve on a lot of different fronts, but it's been great. I mean, we have access to amazing research and best practices and how all these things fit in together. And so it has been an exciting, it's still so hot. It's hard to say fall, but
But you had a lot to jump into all of a sudden, right on the early part of what's going to be our next season.
Right.
And so you got a lot of homework to do real quick, huh?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But you've been around long enough that you've been able to see these a little bit from the inside out, but from the inside city view. So the good news is that you're pretty familiar with them all.
Yeah, I mean, I when I was in the mayor's office, I got a really good look at tourism, especially Experience Scottsdale and all they did and their importance to our community for sure. now to be on a granular level with how that works and how we fit in. And my team also, so Experience Scottsdale obviously promotes the destination outside of Maricopa County, outside of the state of Arizona, and internationally. But my team has got a lot of responsibility with marketing the Old Town area and some of the coordination around, just business happiness around here and what we can do and making sure we've got a vibrant Old Town, because it is a draw for our tourists. They want to come down here where it's walkable, and we want to make sure it's fun and they're engaging things to do and things are well maintained and all that. So that's also a little bit of my area of influence right now.
That's a lot. So you talk about your team. Who is your team? How big's your department? What's your team look like?
Well, it's interesting because the bed tax money is what we call it. So I have this big budget that I'm tasked with, being a very good steward of, but I only have 5 people that work under me and a part-time administrative assistant. So it is a lot of, we do, events funding through the Tourism Development Commission to support events that come to town with marketing programs, and even the sports leagues those traveling sports leagues that come to town. We've got, if you're having an impact that you can prove that you're bringing a bunch of folks to town, heads in beds, and the economic impact there, we've got a little venue funding so you can host your tournament or whatever it is. And that's a great economic impact. And we're actually this year seeing more of those tournaments. And there's so many, if you have kids that are middle school, high school, I think even some elementary, those touring teams, those competitive sports leagues are a big deal where the whole family is traveling. And
like soccer and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Travel baseballs.
Yeah,
huge.
Baseball too. Fall league's now underway.
Yeah.
As of, I think, well, this will be a couple of days from now, but it started, I think, just today, I think.
Do you go to those games?
I haven't been to a fall league game yet. No.
You got to go get a Scorpions hat. It's the best.
Yeah, I need to do that.
I got one.
Do you have one?
Sure.
Of course you do.
It's a great logo. I love it.
Yeah, I haven't been to the stadium since the Savannah Bananas were there, so it's been a little while.
Right.
Yeah, but that was fun when they were here for sure. These events keep you busy for sure. That's one. We're known for that. And that's one of the strengths we have from the city, and not just from a budgeting standpoint, but from a reputation standpoint too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you should say that, because Scottsdale, even before we were incorporated as a city, we were very intentional about being a tourism destination. We had we really cultivated that. We started agrarian, right? But then we decided to make the facades of the Old Town businesses very old Western. We put cowboy hats on our police officers. We absolutely cultivated that. And then we went further by building this reputation of luxury. We had a Liz Arden red door and all these things. And so even though Scottsdale is much younger than Goodyear or Chandler or a lot of municipalities in the valley, we cornered that market early on attracting the tourist. And, it's such as a person that loves history and especially local history, it's such a wonderful place to be the current municipal steward. There are a lot of stewards, obviously, of that industry, but we can't, as a community, I think a lot of folks, especially that grew up here, are used to having tourism help pay for things and make a great quality of life here.
Yeah.
And I hope that we're not taking that for granted at all. There's a lot of competition now. It used to be us and Vegas and Palm Springs, but look, Glendale's coming on really strong with their Barbie Hotel and whatever they're doing over there. And there's a lot of people have seen what we did as far as making ourselves a destination and have replicated that to some extent. So we've got to continue to push ourselves and be a leader in that market and always be attractive to the United States traveler, the North American traveler, and the international traveler.
We get a lot of global travelers here for sure.
Yes, that's for sure. Right. I think it's 1.9 million international visitors in 2023.
Wow. It's impressive.
Now, I know you work really closely with Scottsdale Arts. And they got some new music things going on. And I know how much you love music. So any new music venue, any new music events happening, would that be going through Scottsdale Arts? I mean, I'm sure you'd love to have a new music festival.
They oversee the management of the Civic Center area.
Right, okay.
And the Dreamy Jaw is coming up the first weekend in November. Okay. So that's pretty exciting. That is coming up. They've got, I haven't really looked, I honestly have had my head down in these contracts and in the finances. So I haven't looked super closely, but they are always putting together great opportunities for live music and other stuff. And I meet with Gerd, I think, every other week. And the Scottsdale Arts contract has to be renegotiated this year. So we've been spending a lot of time together and talking philosophy on what it means to be an arts and culture destination, which has been a lot of fun. He's an amazingly dynamic guy. And I know he has some ideas he's kind of fleshing out, which is really exciting too. So hopefully we'll see the next big things coming up, and not just Gerd, but I think a lot of folks are kind of noodling around some fun new stuff. So hopefully next time you guys have me on your podcast, I will be talking about what hairy audacious, is that what?
Yeah.
Big hairy audacious goals.
Yes, that's right. Yes, we're gonna.
So you're gonna break any news for us today and tell us about?
I am not. 7 weeks in, I have little news. I'm hanging on by a thread here.
Gerd's told me one or two of his ideas, and I can't say what they are because I don't know where they are in his process now. But there could be exciting stuff. There's always something new coming here, Right. Which is what keeps us on our toes.
It's been neat to hang out with these creative folks. I think there's a lot. And the one thing that's wonderful, so Karen Churchard, who retired from this position, left me in such a wonderful place. Like, it's not a Super Bowl year. It's like year 2 of the strategic plan. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a classy woman. Yeah. Thank you, Karen. Yeah. And so in the strategic plan, it talks about some of these things, and those conversations started, and you're starting to see some of these things move closer to coming to pass, wellness destination and the tour to Scottsdale and all that stuff. So it's really exciting to be on the genesis of some of these new ideas.
I'm curious, we talked about Old Town a minute ago. Has your view of Old Town, or the value of Old Town, or the future of Old Town changed now that you're sitting in the tourism chair versus when you were sitting like in the economic development chair?
No, that's interesting. So when I was in economic development, my job was to interact with Old Town businesses. I mean, we hadn't even branded it Old Town yet, even though that's what everybody called it. And to see what I could do to help the small business people down there try and activate it. So tourism at the time was it was just really it was like 1.5 people, and I was the half, and the other half was economic development. And so tourism kind of broke out. So when I was down there, I always understood it, right? There are such cute bones along Marshall Way, and the arts and culture district, or the arts district, is so important to our arts identity. The historic Old Town piece, they have those merchants down there, and property owners mostly have worked very hard to make sure that section of Old Town stays special. One thing that's interesting, though, is that the pandemic changed the nature of office space. And so the entertainment district right now probably isn't, I know that they're not seeing as much foot traffic as they used to when all the Class A office space down here was full. Yeah. So it's, it's the nature of it is changing, and who knows when we'll go back to where we were pre-pandemic on the Class A office space. So I think there's a lot of innovation that needs to happen there to figure out, how we're going to morph into the next most wonderful thing.
Yeah, if we ever do. We may never get back to where that was before.
But it doesn't have to stay office space, though.
That's true. Yeah.
So, these are private property decisions and not my decisions, but I'm there for it.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I was thinking about all the new venues coming up and things like that. It's a special place, right? So tell us more about what you think. Why do you think Scottsdale make it such an important place for us from a tourism dynamic?
Okay. why is Scottsdale a special place from a tourism?
Just what is that special ingredient? And here's why I ask, because we've been hearing a lot about politics right now, about everybody, the economies. The economy's doing well in certain circumstances, but there's still a lot of the people who are not participating in that. I went out the other night, last Saturday night, to a restaurant in Old Town Scottsdale, and you would think it was in the middle of wintertime. It was jam-packed. It was hot. We all know our local residents were complaining about the heat and stuff like that. It was jam-packed. And the thing I was thinking about while I was down there, I was like, this really is a special place. It seems to be sort of immune to a lot of the things. I mean, it seems like travelers must still be coming here. You talked about how we're up, right? So, to me, it just seems like we're not, I don't want to say we're immune, because we're never immune, but it just seems like that we have a resiliency.
Yes, I think especially our Old Town area, it's walkable. There are many things to do. It's not really, when you get down to it, right, you can walk from Fifth Avenue to historic Old Town, and unless you have severe mobility issues, it is actually there. There's a tricky intersection there in Indian School in Scottsdale, but the whole thing is really walkable when you think about it, and it's just special. It's got this wonderful reputation of being fun, and hopefully that our visitors see it as friendly. But the culinary piece, we're known for great restaurants with delicious food and fun bars and entertainment, and it's Fashion Square is the actual anchor of Old Town as far as tax receipts go.
Rodeo Drive there, right? With all the luxury stuff that's in there now.
And you don't really have malls like that are in the middle of a walkable downtown, so it is, I think that you're getting that mix of residents and visitors that we didn't have before. We're seeing that multi-use sort of residents on the top and retail on the bottom, that, a lot of the younger folks, the younger than me, millennials, and they want to be in a walkable downtown. They want that experience. Actually, I don't know if I should say, I was going to just out somebody for living in downtown, but I don't want to dox like one of my bosses. So.
That'd be fun to do that, though.
Well, there's a side of Old Town. Kevin and I, this is probably a year ago now, we went on a Friday night ride with the police on a Friday night when there was closing time at the bar district in Old Town. That was an eye-opener.
What was eye-opening about it?
Just so many people. Obviously I haven't, that's not my cup of tea anymore. It's I'm decades
back
beyond.
Back in the day, though, don't cheat yourself.
Back in the day, I would have been down there.
Yeah.
But we went down at closing time, and everything was, orderly. It was all fine. But there was thousands and thousands of people. And this was just a normal Friday night. It wasn't a big holiday weekend or anything.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of people that come flooding out of the streets. And I wasn't shocked. I was like, wow, that's incredible. I know it's probably got maybe maybe some challenging things that go with it, but there's a side of Old Town there that most of us, at least a little bit, those of us who are a little bit older, we don't see that very often.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's kind of an exciting part of the mix.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about part of the mix.
Well, that's what I was talking about the other night. I was like, I know that it's true what people are saying about the economy, because I know those people that housing affordability is a big issue, right? I mean, gas prices, grocery prices, those are real things. I see it. Everybody sees it. They're real. But when I was out last Saturday night at a restaurant, I was going,
it's pretty amazing.
This is amazing that we're able to populate places like this.
That's good. That's good to hear, actually. It's good. It's good for us.
It really is. I love it when I'm like, I can't find a parking space on a Monday.
Yeah.
Yay!
So you're in a new leadership role. There's a new economic development director in the city now.
Has she been on your podcast yet?
She's going to be on our podcast next month.
Yes. A couple of weeks.
She's been on our Scott Roundtable, so we've got a chance to meet her there. There's a new person running Westworld. And
he's a Scottsdale. He grew up in Scottsdale.
Is that right?
He's coming home. Yeah. And he's
just
got
like
a lot of.
Just like you did.
Great. I grew up in Tucson. My husband was born and raised here, but I feel like a hometown girl for sure.
And there's a new CEO that's doing the McDowell Sonora and Preserve. So all those key positions, they're all kind of somewhat related to each other. Do you have an interaction with them? Is there new ideas? Is it kind of cool having all these new leaders working together now?
Yes, it's really exciting time to be part of it. I work a lot with Westworld, and Will, I'm going to mispronounce his last name, so I won't even try, but who just came to Westworld is now at the table too, which is really exciting. He has a lot of wonderful large venue experience, and I hope you guys have him on. I would love to hear some of his more specific stories.
He must be brand new, because last I looked, I thought we had a woman that was appointed out there.
Yes, he is brand new. He just came to us from Saskatoon, Canada, but he did does the Atlanta football team play the Georgia Dome or something like that?
Georgia Dome.
Yeah, he ran the Georgia Dome.
He ran the Georgia Dome?
Or he was VP or something like that.
Mercedes-Benz Dome
He's got some...
Yeah, Mercedes-Benz, right.
I know you don't want to... I'm probably butchering his story, but have him on. I want to hear his story as well.
Yeah, we definitely will. Right. Yeah.
But Terry Kilgore, who is new to economic development, she's been a wonderful partner. We office right next to each other. We have just a conference room between the two of us. So we interact a lot. She is, she brought home the ASM thing recently to council, which was interesting.
That's a huge.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of experience too in Chandler and in California. So that's pretty neat. No, it's a really good group. And of course, I love the Rachels from Experience Scottsdale.
Sure.
I mean,
the Rachels.
I
love it when she says that.
I get to be City Rachel, when I was in the mayor's office.
How many Rachels we got right now?
Yeah. And we all spell it the same way,
That's
too,
right,
which is awesome. When I was in the mayor's office, they used to call me City Rachel, and I'm so excited to be back being City Rachel. They just have a world-class organization. In fact, Rachel Pearson was telling me just earlier this week, they won the Arizona Tourism and Lodging Association. I had it in my notes, but now we're on video, so I didn't bring my notes. But it is their like collaborative organization of the year or something like that at their gala.
That's cool.
And of course they deserve it, and a million other things too. They're just terrific partners, very open. And so you mentioned ecosystem and how exciting it is. It's even changed in the 2 months I've been there, and it's just getting more exciting, I think.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So I know you're doing all your homework, just kind of catching up with what's happening currently. But when you look out a little bit, 3, 5, 10 years, what do you see happening in tourism that affects our city?
Well, I do hope that we have some new attractions. If you've been here once, I want you to have a reason to come back.
Yeah.
I want to be seen as a very friendly destination. I don't think right now we're seeing a softening of the leisure travel market because of the economic forces you're talking about, housing, and I think all that is kind of moderating. So we'll see what next year's numbers bring. But it's been a lot of the business travel, a little, the international piece. But hopefully, when those leisure travelers come back, they just think we're the sweetest, happiest, friendliest town around, and they go home to Columbus, Ohio or Green Bay and tell everyone they have to come and visit Scottsdale, and our destination stays strong, that we add more of the things people are looking for. And the younger travelers looking for outdoor opportunities, and they want to see a more sustainable destination. We want to position ourselves as accessible for people who are retired, who may have mobility issues, or people who have sensory issues. I think there's some work we could do there. And I also hope that we think about, because you talked a little bit about housing, and the hospitality industry, I think the number is 27,000 jobs in Scottsdale or something like that. But you think about how someone who works in hospitality at the Boulders, how far they actually have to live from the Boulders. And so if you go to a high-end luxury resort in North Scottsdale and spend that kind of money, we hope that they're well-staffed and that these folks are having just an A+ time. And so I think we have to be thinking about how we can support our workforce in that. It's just a simple fact. It's not a slam. A lot of those folks can't afford to live here. And so are there other creative ways that we can support our workforce? And I'm not saying government has all the answers, but let's have the conversation.
Well, expanding that, talk about hospitality industry. Let's talk about our first responders, right?
Right.
put them there too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
teachers,
teachers, yeah.
nurses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although that's a problem for the city that we haven't really gotten our hands around. And that's been the topic of other podcasts with city officials. But
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any immediate solutions in sight for that. So we just have to keep
I
working
mean, it's
around
a
the edges.
national problem.
Yeah.
It's probably
right.
exacerbated because Scottsdale, we're lucky enough to enjoy the valuations that we have in our homes. But it's even I've got a friend who lives outside of Cincinnati, and it's a different scale, but same problem. So
Well, housing's a big issue all across Arizona. Yeah, the availability is the supply's just not big enough. And when the supply's not there, the prices go up everywhere. So it's not just a Scottsdale
basic
problem.
economics, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So what are some challenges? I mean, that's a challenge. What are some other challenges that you see or that you're hearing from others in the industry as it relates to tourism?
Well, there's a lot of places that you don't have to shovel sunshine, right?
Right.
So the competition is stiff, it's fierce. People now understand the importance of cultivating tourism as it relates to their own economy. And so I think, and as things tend to seem to be heating up, there might be a point where you don't have to shovel snow in Minnesota anymore. Who knows? And that's just because it's been a hot couple of weeks. I know that's hyperbole for sure, but I think we have to really be mindful of the fact that there are a lot of places people can go to travel, and it's not like it used to be where there were just a few airlines going to a few select destinations.
Right.
I mean, you can get anywhere now. So
Yeah, you sure can. So the world gets smaller all the time. Talk about technology, the effects that technology can have on tourism. In AI, you can experience being in Scottsdale sitting in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's true.
One thing
Right?
I heard recently, just in my studies as I was preparing for the interview process and now, is that people are using AI to generate tourism, generate their own travel plans, kind of mapping out where they're going to go, itineraries, where they're going to go and where they're going to stay and what makes sense. And I thought, wow, that's a real game changer.
I saw this morning, it's not directly tourism related, but it's a kudos to the city. And you'll probably know who's responsible for this, but I thought this was brilliant this morning. Have you ever seen on late night TV where, I think it's Jimmy Fallon, maybe it's Kimmel, I'm not sure, where the celebrities will read mean tweets, where the celebrities will read tweets about them and the celebrity reading themselves? It's kind of funny. They turn the tables on the person anyway, but I saw a TikTok this morning produced by city staff at the McCormick-Stillman Railroad Park, where one of the employees was reading bad reviews about the park. Really? And then they were showing the ad. Like one person was saying, I had to stand on the carousel while my child was riding the horse. And it showed these people enjoying themselves riding the carousel, and it showed what a great amenity that was. And I thought, that takes guts and to be able to do that. And that I thought was absolutely brilliant. So I don't know who's responsible for that, but what a fantastic piece of marketing.
Yeah.
So whoever's responsible
They really
for that.
are getting creative over there. They're doing a really good job. There was one, and I hope you look it up. So the Old Town Ambassadors, we've got an
I saw that one.
And that one was super cute too.
Really
so it's our Old Town Ambassador SKUs, way retired, and they're using words like Riz and Cap and kind of all these middle school.
Does that department fall under your group or no?
We work cooperatively. It actually falls under Ross Heil in community engagement and communications in our Kelly Corsett's group. But no, we're neck and neck. That actually is a big group of volunteers that is, he spends a lot of time with them and he loves that group. And it's great to have them down there. But we work cooperatively across departments on that one for
That's
sure.
another brilliant TikTok I saw yesterday too. The city's doing a great job by promoting themselves.
Yeah, you got to. So I'm curious about the ambassadors. So they're all older people? And
I mean,
which is kind of cool. They're retired probably, right?
Yeah.
But they're doing the lingo like the younger crowd. It's
Yes.
almost kind of funny
You
when they
have
do
to
that,
look
right?
it up,
I
Don.
know,
It is so cute.
Yeah. I'd like to do that someday when I've got time on my hands.
Why not? Yeah.
I can't fit another thing in right now, but
no, you can't.
Right.
It's just really nice, especially for if you're an outgoing person who is always, it is a great way to just go and meet people from all over the world
fun,
Yeah, the people that do it tend to stick with it and really like it. Louise Lamb, you know her?
Mm-mm.
She's been doing it forever.
Wow.
Sonny Kirtley.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
there are a bunch of names I'm sure you know
Yeah.
that are down there, which is amazing and so helpful. And they are really engaged too. They really know what's going on with the city. They bring back, this is what I heard from our tourists or our residents that they heard down there. This is the kind of collateral we would like to be handing out so that
Yeah.
our visitors, I mean, it was such a great group. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we talked a little bit about this before, but how do we get more young people to put Scottsdale on their tourism destination map?
That is a good question. Well, so we are putting together this at the end of this month. We are having this Dios de los Muertos event.
Okay.
So the installation of the art is in advance of the actual event. But on Friday, and I want to say Friday is the 25th, also in my notes, which I left over there since I'm on video,
Get 'em out.
that we're having a procession over by the Mission, you know where the Mission
Yeah, of
restaurant
course.
is, like also on a line with you on Brown and 2nd Street,
Sure.
where they have this fabulous artist painting people's faces, not just one, obviously, but one famous one doing, you know, dance groups and stuff like that. And then the community can come and take part in it too. And they're going to have a procession through Old Town, through this Dios de los Muertos altar.
Oh, cool.
And then the next day there's a festival and then there's a dance that night. And so I think, you know, let's have these really exciting events that you don't see elsewhere. This is a really authentic event where a lot of the performers are actually coming from Guanajuato, Mexico to
Really?
participate. Let's, you know, I mean, I think
That's
we all
great.
want to experience culture,
Yep,
right?
that's great.
And then in the Scottsdale events, they're largely geared for young families. And this is for people who are here. So invite your friends, which is interesting because actually most of our visitors come to visit friends and family.
Yeah.
So we have things for people to do, even if they're here visiting grandma over Christmas and stuff like that. Like that's one way we can bring them. I don't have that great big idea yet on
will.
how to
Yeah,
how the
it's coming.
demographics, but I'm open to it.
It's coming. There's no question. Listening to you talk today, you've been on the job for a couple of months, and you sound like you've been on the job for a couple of years.
Aw.
Yeah, so she's doing
So-
really.
Hey,
Yeah,
when
she's
does
got it.
Western Week run up next to Prada?
It does. So Prada is the Saturday at the end of Western Week.
Oh, okay.
So this year we're trying to, and if you guys have ideas, please let me know. So we want to do both weekends, 2 weekends with a week in the middle. So that the Pony Express will be coming down from Holbrook through Payson. And one year we actually had a small group from Germany follow the Pony Express
Oh,
all the
really?
way down. We should, why didn't someone run with that idea,
That's
right?
cool.
Like,
That's
I
cool.
mean, that, as a experience, these guys are, and there's going to be gals in the Pony Express this year too,
Oh,
which
wow.
is
That's
a new
good.
thing and
Yeah.
exciting,
That's
right?
the first time?
First time.
Finally,
Yes,
huh?
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But so the Pony Express will come in and then the Prada will be that Saturday. So starting next week, me and my team are meeting on having some micro events the week before. But I know, Don, did you grow up here?
No.
Okay, so
Feels like it though. I've been here forever, but it feels
Yeah.
like it.
well, so in Tucson, it was the same way, but my husband tells me this, and Susie Tim from Knife and Fork Media, who's a doll who works with me works with us on some of this stuff. Back in the day, from the beginning of Scottsdale
Wait,
through
you're talking about the 80s?
through the 80s, it was really a thing. Your bank teller would be wearing a neckerchief and
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah,
Western,
yeah,
where the
right,
kids at
right.
school really participated. You'd have the day off to go and participate in these sorts of things. It was all across town. Everybody did it. Everybody was into it. We've grown a lot since then, and we're a bit of a transient community, a lot of transplants here, but I
Yeah.
would love to get back to
That'd be
that where
cool.
everyone is celebrating that. I mean, we are West, right?
We are West.
And
Yeah.
so, a lot of people tourists want to see that, but we should embrace that here. I mean, the
I love
product's
that.
so fun, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah. Yeah.
I love
So,
it more than Christmas and more than my birthday.
really?
I really do.
So do you in your new role now, does that mean you're no longer going to be able to volunteer as an announcer?
I will be an announcer until they throw me off the stage.
So is that in your contract then that you're still going to do that?
The first thing I did was call Kim Chiappetti and say, please, I must remain an announcer. It's
That
That's
warms
cool.
my heart right there.
Rachel, it's been a delight having you on the show.
You guys are so
Yeah,
nice.
you're great. It's been great catching up with you. It's been wonderful. Your new role at the city, you're just continuing the good work and the good service you've been doing in the city for over 24 years.
Thank you.
It keeps on keeping on, Karen,
Yeah, it's
doesn't it?
great.
She's fantastic.
Perfect person for this new role. Karen was awesome, but
Yep.
it's so nice to know that Rachel's going to continue that, and we're going to have a really strong, vibrant tourism community well in the future because it's the lifeblood of our city.
Great. And we got the right person in the leadership chair now. So,
Thank you so much.
Rachel, thank you so much for being with
My
us.
pleasure.
Absolutely. And thanks to all of you, too, for listening. I hope you'll continue to share our podcast with your friends and tune in for the next one, next episode, today and tomorrow in Scottsdale.